I think that's one of the big problems of a story like that, is that the more you keep a story in your head of what could be with someone, the more that story turns into something truly unattainable for real life. And it's like no one can really come along and compete with that story. Welcome to the Love Life podcast with me, Matthew Hussey, and my wife, whose name is now Audrey Hussey.
Are you going to do that every single time? Just highlight my name change.
I like it.
Oh, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Why'd you have... What's wrong with me liking that?
Oh, God, for God's sake. There's nothing wrong with you liking it. It's very sweet.
You have some very comfy Ugg sandals on for the podcast. You've got your podcast shoes on.
Ugg sandals?
I'm sitting cross-legged like a child because that just feels nice and cozy for a podcast. It feels nice to be able to do something in a comfy way as opposed to having to, go to do an interview somewhere, which I've been doing so many of for the new book. My God. And having to get all dressed up and act professional.
Speaking of which, if you haven't already pre-ordered it, that was a good segue, right?
It was a good segue, but you didn't finish it. So
I know,
I'm sorry. It was worthless.
Seriously though, go pre-order Matt's new book, Love Life.
Love Life, how to raise your standards, find your person, and live happily no matter what. The book is available right now at lovelifebook.com. And I can't remember, what day is this episode coming out? What's coming up that's exciting that people should know about?
We have a live event happening on March 19th, which is going to be incredible.
Oh, yeah. Don't go to lovelifebook.com. Go to lovelifetraining.com because in fact, do both. Can we say that?
Yeah, you can do both.
Do both. Go grab a copy of the book at lovelifebook.com. For which there are some great bonuses, and also sign up for our event on March the 19th called the Love Life Reset, which is going to be a fantastic event for anyone who wants a fresh approach to their love life. And I think so many people are going to benefit from this. People who feels like they've just got to a point in their love life where it feels like nothing's working. And they feel like, God, something needs to change. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know why it's not working out for me. Something needs to change. We are speaking to you. Go to lovelifetraining.com and sign up. And if you're someone who has found yourself single again at a time in your life where you didn't think you would be single, and you're wondering how to get back out there again in a dating landscape that you feel like you don't even understand anymore, not to mention you're afraid of the rejection, or you're worried that you have somehow become invisible in the time that you have been out of the dating market, then come join us, because we're going to give you a nice, gentle, loving, compassionate approach to starting to take steps to get back out there and find love again. Because look, let's face it, most of us, we don't want to date, but we do want to find love. So let us help you with the second part. Go to lovelifetraining.com to sign up, and let's get to the episode. We decided today to talk, one of the big themes of the new book, Love Life, is the whole idea of chasing the wrong things. We have talked about this a lot. Chasing the wrong things, credit to you, was actually a phrase that you started saying early on in our relationship. You said that I just think so many people are unhappy because they keep chasing the wrong things. Before we get into, because there's a specific way that we want to talk about chasing the wrong things today. And there's a TV show me and Audrey have been watching on Netflix that kind of epitomizes this, and I'm really curious to know who out there has seen it. So we'll tell you about that in a second. But can you just summarize, when you say chasing the wrong things, what you mean by that for everyone out there who's maybe now wondering, am I chasing the wrong things? What do you mean by chasing the wrong things?
Yeah, for sure. For me, chasing the wrong things is something that we all are susceptible to doing. Most of us actually do it in our lives. Oftentimes it's in our 20s, but it can carry on. We can end up doing it for the rest of our lives. But in more hedonistic times, what we're chasing basically is like experiences and highs and things that make us feel good about ourselves or validate our ego or whatever it might be. So
what
that
would be
comes,
like an example of that?
right. So it comes in the form of kind of like, you know, chasing the hot, cool, aloof, charismatic person who treats you like crap because they're hot, cool and aloof, and you think that you're going to, you know, look really good being with them, or, you know, your ego will feel really, really grateful that you got that kind of person. Another example might be just chasing like hedonistic experiences and taking drugs and going out and doing all of those things. The reason I kind of like in my mind chasing the wrong things is kind of, it's this idea that we're all on a path, and our path is kind of what keeps us honest. And in theory, our past, if we're in alignment, is the thing that takes us towards a happy life and a peaceful life. But we get very distracted by all these shiny things that take us on all these kind of like side roads. And when I see people doing that, I just go, oh, they've just gone down the side road. And what happens is they end up spending months or years just chasing this shiny new thing down a side road, and then they hit a dead end with it, hit rock bottom, and they have to traipse their entire way back to their path. And so I think the goal in life is to recognize that we're all susceptible to those things, and to, instead of chasing the wrong things, just try and chase the things and go after the things in our lives that are in alignment with what we want and the life that we want to live.
And of course, sometimes what we chase is, when we're talking about the wrong things, we chase something that, we chase hope, right? We chase potential. We chase what we think something could be instead of what it is. And that speaks to the show that we've been watching. Me and Audrey have been watching a show that Audrey made me watch in the beginning, called One Day.
That's not what happened. Okay, what happened was, you know how Netflix shows you a trailer for things? And basically this trailer came up. I remember this because this is last weekend when we were skiing. And you know, normally if you don't like the trailer, you kind of flick through it. Matt was like, just gonna watch this. Watch the whole thing till the end. And he went, I know I shouldn't really feel that, but I really didn't hate that trailer, huh?
I know I shouldn't be feeling these feelings for this program that normally would be something that I would make fun of Audrey for watching. But I quite liked the dialogue.
So what's the program?
Well, it's called One Day, and it has people I don't know in it, but one of them is from White Lotus season 2, and we really liked him in White Lotus. He's sort of the bad boy who's very damaged in White Lotus, and
he's exactly the kind of guy that you go after in your 20s when you're kind of, you know, chasing the wrong things.
Yeah.
And you think he's so cool, but he's also just not in hindsight.
Yes. Well, in this show, he's pretty cool, and he's sort of the popular guy, and he's very good looking and stereotypically just charming and charismatic, and he's dating, or no, he's not dating. He meets this young woman at college. You know, they're both like 18, something like that, I feel like. Or maybe they meet when they're like 21 and they're just graduating.
Graduation.
And they, you know, hit it off. I don't think they quite go home and have sex, do they? They just go home, and there's a bit of a like, will they, won't they? But then there's a friendship that sort of comes out of it. And, you know, I won't go into every detail of the show because you might want to go and watch it. Me and Audrey, I'm going to be honest, we're pretty addicted at this point.
We haven't finished it yet.
No, we've got like 2 episodes to go.
I'm scared. I hear it's really sad.
Well, now you're giving stuff away. We don't know that it's sad.
Okay.
We just know that it seems like
sad.
it could be. But it's really about their, you know, friendship over time. And it's sort of, I don't know what One Day is referring to, but in my mind, One Day is like, you know, one day they'll get together.
Yeah, I think that's...
Is that how you took it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe one day that changes your life forever. I'm getting too philosophical. I think it's the former.
Is it also like every episode is one day?
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Okay. Well, then I think it's the kind of like one day it'll happen. But it's firstly, nothing I'm about to say is knocking the show, because I really like the show.
If you hadn't guessed already, Matt really
I'm really
likes
enjoying
the show.
it. I don't want it to end. But the story of the show is like a very dangerous one. It's sort of like if you like 50 Shades of Grey because you find it really entertaining, but then you come away from it going, oh, that story's a really dangerous one. That has the potential to do a lot of people a lot of harm. I feel like that about One Day.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's this constant fantasy of, especially on her side in many ways, this guy that, she has always had a thing for, that she holds a very special place in her heart. And even though their lives go in different directions, there's this constant kind of holding on to that feeling. And
it's like they're always each other's number one at the heart of it, which makes their relationship really, really special. But also in real life is exactly the thing that makes you not go out there and try and find somebody else and has you get stuck on that person.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? People say, oh, they're not stopping me. I still am going out and blah, 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 and doing my thing and whatever. But someone doesn't have to be taking up physical space in your life for them to be taking up mental and emotional space in your life. And as long as you're still holding a candle for someone, there's still that part of you that doesn't go all in on your life, on other people. There's just that thing that keeps you, is just like a story that doesn't end. And those stories can become really, really dangerous.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that we do that? Because I think a lot of people do that, right? A lot of us get stuck on a story and are more than happy to almost live inside the fantasy of what something could be rather than go out there and actually connect with someone in a real meaningful way. Why do you think we prefer to do that?
I really sympathize with it because a story can make us feel less lonely, I think, less isolated. It can make us feel like there's still, no matter what happens, there's this thread out there in the world that, still has some tie to our life or our future. And no matter what disappointments may come our way in the short term, there's still this hope, there's still this possibility. And I think it can make us feel less lonely, and it can also be an excuse not to fully live, not to be truly present in our life. Because there's something about the story that's very comfortable. We know our way around it. It's already, we know this person. It feels familiar. It's like that the story itself becomes like an old friend that you get to hold on to. And it feels scary to kill that. It feels scary to kill hope and to just go, oh, I'm going to assume nothing is ever going to happen here.
Yeah. I also think story is intoxicating because it's fantasy. And real life is real life.
No, you're right. The story, the fantasy of a story is very seductive. It is. There's a kind of escapism inherent in it. I don't have to truly just embrace a real life and the disappointments of a real life and the way that love doesn't always match up in real life. I think that's one of the big problems of a story like that, is that the more you keep a story in your head of what could be with someone, the more that story turns into something truly unattainable for real life. And it's like no one can really come along and compete with that story, because it's, you know, I don't, in the part of the show we're in, they are not, I don't know what happens with the two of them, but they're not in a relationship. And for as long as they're not in a relationship, she's imagining what a relationship with him would be like. And who could compare to her imagination of what a relationship with him would be like?
Yeah.
That's an impossible thing for anyone to live up to, because whoever has a relationship with her is having a real relationship with her. The thing that's going on in her head is a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for as long as the relationship never happens, it never has to live up to that fantasy. It can just exist as this perfect version of it, this perfect possibility in her head. And that happens with so many people. It doesn't just have to happen in this case of this show. It's with two friends who kind of, so, you know, will they, won't they, friendship for a long time. But it can also just happen with the person that we had a 3-month affair with, that we, you know, never got to truly be in a relationship with. But because the chemistry and the connection and those 3 months was so amazing, we project what the relationship would be like based on those 3 months. And then all of a sudden you get into a relationship and you start comparing it to what you think that relationship would have been like if you had it. And there's no truth to that, because you don't know what they'd be like in a relationship. In that show, for the whole time they're friends, she still doesn't know what kind of a partner he would be. Like, it's so easy for him and her to waltz into each other's lives every now and again and have like a mini like friendship honeymoon.
Yeah.
And have this amazing like, oh my God, you're the only one who truly understands me. You know, we have such a great time together, all of that. But it's only like, it doesn't need to ever run the marathon that is a real relationship. It doesn't ever need to be in such close proximity where they're able to like truly see, oh, this is what you're like in a romantic relationship. They don't see any of that. So they just get to imagine it from the sidelines.
You know, it's funny because it's almost like if they get together, they then don't have each other to be the other person on the outside that's giving them that thing. And it's like, oh, our relationships are so like whatever. And our connection is the thing that's really exciting. But I also think it's so true. And I was thinking weirdly earlier, I don't know in what context I was thinking this, but I was thinking about the night you and I met. And I was thinking how we were looking at each other and, you know, that kind of feeling that's like, I remember saying this to you, like I hadn't had that feeling in such a long time, of like almost being like younger and like looking at someone who's looking at you and you know that you're into each other, but you don't know how to talk to each other. That feeling is really, really exhilarating. And I was thinking about that feeling that I felt, which was like how fun and how exciting and the endless possibilities of what that means is kind of what's going on in your mind, right? And I'm sure, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm sure you have like all sorts of chemicals that are popping off in your brain when those things are happening. And I almost see it in that way, that kind of early stage of like when you're not really ever going all in with someone, you know, in the trenches, in a relationship, actually seeing the ins and outs of what that person is and their good sides and their bad sides and whatever else. You're always just existing in that kind of like exhilarating what could be stage. And that stage is just not real life, and that's not where a sustainable relationship is built from. The problem is we want to keep, and you've talked about this before, we want to keep microdosing on those chemicals and that feeling because that feeling feels so good. And it really is like an addiction in a way. And I think that the story and the possibility of what this thing could be becomes a very intoxicating and very addictive thing.
And I actually think it's an addiction it can be an addiction both when you're with someone else and when you're on your own. The addiction when you're with someone else is still like, is you playing the fantasy of, you know, what that could have been and how much your current situation doesn't live up to that. And so it's like an addictive, it's almost like an addictive, anxious thought pattern, right? Because the anxious thought is, would I be happier if that had only happened or could still happen? And so that becomes like a anxious rumination over and over again. The addiction when you're on your own is the temptation to reach out to that person and to get whatever hit you can get. And of course, if that person is able to, in a kind of easy way, reach back out to you and be like, hey, I'm here. Like you kind of like send out your beacon to them and they send it back, like I'm here, then it feels good and it feels good to them too. But no one's really having to commit anything to that. It's just a dopamine hit for both sides.
Yeah. And do you think, because I have thoughts and theories on this, and I think it's not a simple answer, but where do you think all of this kind of comes from? Because, to add a bit of color, and again, I don't want to ruin it, although spoilers, and don't listen any further if you don't want this ruined. But he's, in the story, he's like very damaged, and he's a bit kind of brooding and damaged and a bit lost, and like he goes through a big loss, and so he's very kind of like hurt, and she kind of, I don't know, like there's this sort of wounded animal nurturing sort of like, I will be the one who stands by you, and I see you, and I understand you, and I accept you and all of your imperfections in that moment. And I think that that's a really common cycle where, we see people and we go, I want to fix you. And it almost makes us more bonded to them that they have all of this stuff.
You also get to be the special person who sees that stuff and sees them for who they really are underneath it all. And it's important that we recognize that gives us a sense of significance in the situation. It makes us feel like we hold a special place in that person's life, in their world, by being the one and perhaps the only one who truly gets them.
You actually just did a video on this, but we talk a lot about this, and you talk a lot about this, Matt, about kind of this idea of like healthy love versus unhealthy love, and, rewiring our brain towards a healthier dynamic. And so instead of chasing after people who are inconsistent, make us feel unsafe, unseen, unappreciated, really flare up our nervous system, make us feel abandoned half the time. Instead of chasing after those people, trying to find the value and the beauty and the attraction and all of that in people who are actually showing up and ready to meet us where we are. But I do think that I can't speak for men, and I don't want to generalize women, but I certainly see it in a lot of women in my friendships. I see it in my life in the past. And I think it's a common thing, which is this feeling of like taming somebody and almost like earning them, instead of them just being ready and fully kind of like available to you when you're wanting them. You have to almost go through all these hoops and jump through all of these kind of like this obstacle course in order to make sure that you get them. And then when you get them at the end, it's like, I got the prize that was this damaged, complicated person. What do you think about that? Why do you think people do that? And do you agree with me? Do you think that is a pattern? I think it's a pattern.
Yeah, it's a pattern. I mean, I think we have a tendency to devalue things that seem too easy, especially if we've been used to complicated or chaotic, or, our association with love is that it's frantic or it's capricious. You have to find a way to like wrangle it and tame it and jump through hoops to get it. That then is what
Yeah,
it's what and so you go and search for that, and anything that's simpler than that feels like there must be something wrong with it, or it's boring because it shouldn't be this easy. And sometimes what's wrong with you? Why do you already like me, or why are you not making me work for it? That must mean you're not great. I think there's also a bit of that to a lot of situations, is I'm not if we deep down don't think that we're enough, if we don't think that we're, you know, it's like school. If you don't think you're one of the cool kids, then, but you really want to be one of the cool kids, then you don't want to hang around with the kids who aren't cool, because you're like, you're gonna like blow my cover. I'm trying to be like them. I'm trying to be one of the cool kids. If I stand
Don't
next to
talk
you,
to me.
yeah, if I stand next to you too long, you're gonna blow my cover. So like, get away from me. You're disgusting.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It's just the way you said that.
And
yeah,
then,
it's like real contempt for ourselves that we project out onto other people.
yeah, and if someone likes us too easily, then it's like, oh, you can't be one of the cool kids because you have to earn that. You know, and it is this feeling of love has to be earned. And so and we have to start looking at what's the real prize. If you look at what healthy love is, it's someone who knows that they would like to find a connection, who sees you and sees in you someone they would like to build a connection with because they think you're great, and then starts investing consistently to try to build that connection with you.
Yeah.
And then the result of the two of you building that connection together is something really magical, because you can start with something that's really magical, but even that doesn't compare to what gets built over time, because the two of you truly get to know each other. Like, you really know your way around each other. You understand each other. You see each other. And with every, flaw you discover, every insecurity, every quirk, every idiosyncrasy, you're like peeling back the layers of this person, and you really do become the person that kind of knows them better than anybody, and you kind of have the manual to them, and that puts you in this unique position of being able to be there for them, comfort them, help them heal, motivate them.
And them to you.
And so, the result of that is two people who also heal, because it's a very healing experience to be in a relationship like that, where you're accepted and seen, and someone knows how to handle you, and vice versa. And so two people keep getting better and better, and you kind of upgrade each other. It's not one person trying to upgrade another person. It's like you both it's like you heal me, and then I feel safer, and I feel like I could be more of myself and more confident. And as I become that, it becomes an invitation to you to do the same. And so you do that, and then it just becomes this like thing where you both, you really are like, I feel like I'm an upgraded version today from who I was when you met me. And so I feel like I'm getting better for you, and I feel like you're getting better for me, and that's healthy love. And it has nothing to do with, having to like break through something, or having to tame someone, or having to find security in someone who won't give you security. The story of what someone might become is very, very dangerous. Like, there's the one day TV show version of it, and then there's the real life version of that. And we had someone in our Love Life Club recently who talked about someone she had been friends with for 50 years.
Yeah, so I actually want to speak about that, because I think what often happens, and I have a lot of compassion for this because I know where it comes from for people, but there is this kind of instinct, I suppose, to, if you are in a situation where you are either very casually dating someone who's coming in and out of your life, but you have a very strong connection, you get on very well, or maybe you dated for a while and then now you're just friends, but deep down you still hold a candle to them, whatever it might be, and you feel like you have this unbroken, super kind of like, it's a Romeo and Juliet type connection, right? But you end up feeling like what you hear a lot of is like, we're best friends, or we're such good friends. Like, he's just one of my greatest friends, and I don't want to lose the friendship. I don't want to lose them as a person because they're my best friend. Or, you know, and I suppose the reason I feel a lot of compassion is because when you're speaking to someone every day and you're sharing all these special moments, having all these laughs, all these kinds of things, and, you know, you feel super, super connected to them, you do feel a little bit like they're your best friend. You feel like it's them and you against the world. But I want you to carry on your point about this woman on our Love Life community. But, you know, I think there's something very dangerous to that rhetoric of best friends. And, you know, he's such a good friend, or she's such a good friend. And I think it masks the reality, which is, I don't want to let go of this person. We're actually not friends at all, because we don't have a friendship. We have a romantic connection. Within that romantic connection, of course, is a friendship. But if they got a girlfriend or a boyfriend tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to stand being around them in the same way. So therefore, they're not our friend.
Or we wouldn't need them.
Yeah, or they wouldn't need us.
Correct. Like, that's the reality. Like, if that friendship suddenly is something you don't really hold on to, if you find the love of your life, then you have to, on some level, say, is it the friendship I thought it was?
Yeah.
And if they found the love of their life and they suddenly just disappeared, that it's the same the other way round. You have to then say, how much of this is a lifetime friendship versus, and it can be a friendship, don't get me wrong, but how much of that friendship is based on a kind of circumstantial need right now that I have in my life that I would not have if I found the love of my life?
Yeah, I think there really needs to be a separation between what a true friendship is. Like, if I think of my best friend, Mahi, it's like, we're friends. She's my friend. There's no, you know, I don't fancy her or love her in that way. I love her, obviously, but not in that way. And I think we need to separate romantic friendships with true friendships, because I think when you have, you know, you and I, Matt, are best friends, but we're best friends because we're romantically involved. If we were no longer romantically involved, we couldn't stay best friends. We're only best friends. That friendship is a product of the chemistry and connection that is born out of a romantic connection. And it's very important to separate the two, because we can really hurt ourselves and really almost lie to ourselves and pretend to ourselves like something is something that it's not.
Yeah, and close ourselves off to other options.
For sure, we hold on, like, just taking us around the houses, but like, as you're about to tell us, that woman that we spoke to yesterday, the woman from our Love Life Club community, who...
She had been friends with someone for 50 years and was worried about ruining the friendship by asking whether there was romantic potential. And that's like, basically, if you're not careful, it's just a story you'll take to your grave.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we only have so much time in this life. And you can't have someone that spans that much life where you're still asking the question of whether it could be more. Like, you have to just say, look, if I need to go find out, I'll go find out. I'll ask them the question. And then if we're not, if this person doesn't want more with me, then you have to be honest with yourself and say, can I really remain, quote, friends with this person now that that's out there? Or maybe realistically, I need a break from this person so that I can go and feel better and make space for someone else. Because how, if you just asked someone, can we be more? Do you want to be more? Essentially, on some level, I am, in love with you, right? Because by the way, if it's not even love, if you're just like, no, I don't love them, I just kind of like them, then what is the point? Like, go find someone else. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you feel like you're in love with someone and and you say to them, what are we? Or to you, could we be more? And they say, no, I'm not interested. Are you really going to go back to just being that person's friend tomorrow? That's not going to live on as some kind of hope or, strange feeling that you have anytime you're with them. You at that point, you go, okay, I need to get space from you because I need to make space. Love needs space. And at some point you have to make that space. You have to consciously make that space instead of giving someone else the unfair kind of role, a new person, the unfair responsibility of having to create space by being so compelling and so awesome and so this that you finally like shift someone else over. That's too much responsibility for a new person to have.
Wow.
And by the way, the people that will create that, will like make space themselves, are often the people that probably you shouldn't have in your life because they're the shiniest, most charismatic person who comes along and love bombs you or hijacks your attention. And here you are, you're in the same cycle all over again. So it's a very, very dangerous thing. And by the way, the thing I said to our Love Life member was, if you said, if you don't want the same thing as me, I need to take some space for a year or two to go and
get over you essentially,
so that I can just have a friendship with you and no hope for anything more. If the friendship doesn't survive that, then it was never the friendship you kept telling yourself it was anyway.
Yeah. I really love what you just said. Oh my God. I just want to repeat it. Love needs space, and you cannot expect somebody to come in and create space for themselves. You have to have an open heart. You have to have enough space for somebody to actually be able to come in and for you to have enough bandwidth to actually see them and give them a chance, a fair chance.
Be present with them.
Be present with them, not comparing them to someone else. I think that's so, so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, go watch One Day. Tell us what you think.
But don't tell us how it ends because we don't even know that yet.
Well, I think by the time this comes out, we'll know.
That depends. We went to sleep too early last night to watch one. Let us know what you think of these ideas. podcast@matthewhussey.com. Also, make sure you sign up to our event coming up on March the 19th, the Love Life Reset. Are you excited about this event?
I'm so excited. I'm so, so excited. It's going to be amazing. All the information is on the page.
Which is lovelifetraining.com. It's
completely free and it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be great. Lovelifetraining.com is the link. It's only going to be live once, this event. And we really had in mind people who, felt like they just need to like wipe the slate clean and have a fresh start in their love life.
Yeah.
Especially people who have felt like, it's been a string of disappointments, or you feel like so far just the approach you've been taking hasn't been working. And I'm looking at you, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and, coming out of something that is, has like someone left you, or a marriage ended, or, you reached a place in your life where you were like, wow, I didn't expect my life to be here. I thought I was going to be with that person for the rest of my life, and I find myself out there again, single, and it scares me.
Yeah,
come join us. Come be with us, because I promise you it's going to be a really compassionate, welcoming space for you to do a little healing and start to find what approach is right for you to get back out there again and find love.
Yeah.
On your, on the time frame that works for you. But I'm really, really excited for everyone to come out and be with us. It's on March the 19th. It's free. Everyone is welcome. Bring your friends. Give the link, lovelifetraining.com, to anyone in your community. If you're a woman who has a Facebook group that you think would be relevant to this event, post the link in your Facebook group, put it in your community. Lovelifetraining.com is that link. Come join us. You can sign up for free in 20 seconds and we'll send you an email with the details of how to access it on the day. And we look forward to seeing you there. And of course, if you haven't ordered a copy of the book yet, you can either just do it straight from Amazon if you want to, or Barnes & Noble, or wherever you get your books. But if you want to do it through our site, it's lovelifebook.com.
It would mean a lot to Matt if, in case you hadn't noticed already, it would mean a lot to him if you pre-ordered his
Yeah, this book is my baby.
It really is your baby.
I care about it so much. I've spent years of my life. You know, it's funny because I've been writing it in private for so long, for years before anyone even knew I was writing another book. And I felt like I've spent so long with this thing and hundreds of hours that I'm deeply excited for the world to finally see it. And
I've never seen you care about anything work related so much than this book. I'm going to tell this story, I hope you don't mind, but it's a funny story about what Clara, our designer, said. So basically we were on this meeting and our designer said that the color orange was the universally most hated color. And I just we were on Zoom and I just looked at Matt's little window. And yeah, he's holding up the book. If you can't see this because this is audio, he's currently holding up the book, which has a giant orange heart on the front of it.
It's between orange and red.
But I just saw Matt's little face in the Zoom window and he just suddenly looked so butthurt. Well, and he was like, what do you mean it's the most, like, universally hated color? And she was like, oh well, no, it's just what I read.
Well, like,
blah, blah,
Clara,
blah.
if it was the most universally hated cover, you could have said that at the beginning of the design process.
So basically this is how much Matt cares about this book, and it took, like 10-15 minutes to just talk around the fact that it was okay that it was orange and people were still gonna love the book. So please go ahead and pre-order the book even though it's orange and you probably
somewhere
hate
between orange and red.
I mean, it's pretty orange. I think it's a beautiful cover.
Grab a copy. I really love the cover. And we'll see you next time on the Love Life podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, let us know what episodes you've been enjoying. What is the episodes that you've been enjoying the most? Is it me and Audrey? Is it me without Audrey?
Probably.
That was a joke. Is it me interviewing people? Is it me reading the stories from the newsletters? Let us know what you've been enjoying the most. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you, everyone. It was really fun.
Be well and love life.